Marines of Hispanic descent have fought in conflicts from the Spanish-American War to the Global War on Terror, and everywhere in between. Hispanic Americans come from a variety of cultural backgrounds in areas like Spain, Mexico, Cuba, or Puerto Rico, as well as Central American countries like Costa Rica, El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, and Nicaragua. In the turbulent years of racial segregation in the military, as well as the United States, Latinos were counted within the established white population of the Marine Corps. It wasn't until the 1970s that Hispanics were independently classified as a racial group by the Marine Corps. Since then, Hispanics have continued to swell the ranks of the Corps, making them the largest minority within the military branch today. Beginning in 1988, Americans recognized September 15th through October 15th as the observation of National Hispanic Heritage Month. During this month, we take pause to recognize the historical contributions made by Latino men and women in the United States Marine Corps. Hispanic Marines have reached the top ranks of the service, serving in distinguished positions of leadership that have shaped and molded the Marine Corps today. Many of these men and women found distinction outside of the branch, carrying the motto of Semper Fi to their newfound fields in sports and space exploration. This month celebrates the service, sacrifice, and contributions of Hispanics in the Marine Corps, active duty and reserve military, veteran, and civilian. Their story is the story of the United States Marine Corps, one built on its foundation of honor, courage, and commitment. Although the Marine Corps' history dates back to the American Revolution, it's hard to pinpoint exactly when Hispanic Marines began serving. Because the term was not kept in statistics until the 1970s by the United States Census Bureau, there are no concrete numbers. The Marine Corps never had a specific unit based on the Hispanic ethnicity, in the same vein as Montford Point Marines was to African Americans in the Second World War. What we do have, however, are stories and documented records of heroic men and women that have at least served the Corps in some capacity since the end of the 19th century. One of the first notable Hispanic Marines of record is Silva. Private Silva enlisted in the Marine Corps in San Francisco in 1899. The following year, Silva sailed to China as a member of the Marine Detachment aboard USS Newark to help reinforce the foreign legations under siege by Boxers in Peking, China, during the Boxer Rebellion. He, along with another ship detachment from USS Oregon, became the legation guard that arrived in Tientsin in June 1900. Private Silva was severely wounded defending the walled city from 28 June until the fall of the city over 2 weeks later on 17 August. For his heroism, he became the first Hispanic recipient of the Medal of Honor. Service for Marines after the Spanish-American War stayed in the Caribbean, where Latinos fought with distinction in the years before the start of the First World War, in places like Haiti and the Dominican Republic. Pedro Augusto del Valle, a Puerto Rican graduate of the U.S. Naval Academy, received his first Legion of Merit for his heroism during the capture of Santo Domingo in 1916. Del Valle would later go on to serve as the commanding general of the 1st Marine Division during the Battle of Okinawa in 1945. Hispanic Marines served with the 4th Marine Brigade on the battlefields of France during the First World War. At the Battle of Blanc-Mont in October 1918, Private Joe Nichols Vieira seized 3 enemy machine gun nests and captured 40 enemy German soldiers, earning him the Navy Cross. Marine aviation, a new and unproven technology during the war, also saw the establishment of the Marine section of the Navy Flying School in the Marine Corps Aviation Company, established on the island of Puerto Rico during the war. There, the small group of aviators distinguished themselves as a separate unit apart from the United States Naval Aviation. During the interwar period, Marines were sent back to the Caribbean during the Banana Wars. Marines were sent to Nicaragua to establish a neutral zone and protect American citizens there. Hispanic Marines like Captain Pedro del Valle and Private Rafael Toro participated in the Second Nicaraguan Campaign in 1926. Del Valle further distinguished himself several years later in Quantico when he helped develop a plan for amphibious assault, the doctrine that Marines put into practice during the Second World War, during the many island-hopping campaigns that led to victory in the Pacific Theater. The turbulent years of the Second World War required the relatively small Marine Corps to expand dramatically due to national mobilization. This provided an opportunity for many minorities, from Asian Americans, African Americans, women, and Hispanic Americans, to serve the Corps in a greater capacity. No longer would the branch be known as an all-white, all-male volunteer force. For the first time, all facets of the American population would be represented. Hispanic Marines fought in every major battle in the Pacific Theater of Operations during the Second World War in places like Guadalcanal, Tarawa, Saipan, Cape Gloucester, Peleliu, Iwo Jima, and Okinawa. At Saipan, Private First Class Guy Gabaldon single-handedly captured 1,000 prisoners, earning him the title of the Pied Piper of Saipan due to his heroic actions. The Navy Cross recipient was honored by the Pentagon in a ceremony honoring the contributions of Hispanic American World War II veterans in 2004. Marines of Hispanic origin served in numbers higher than their proportion of the American population overall. It is estimated that Hispanic Americans made up 4% of the total Marine enlistment during the war. Private First Class Harold Gonsalves was the only Hispanic Marine to receive the Medal of Honor in World War II. So often the story of diversity and conflict only centers on the individual and not the collective. The Korean War is no exception, as it is important to highlight the sheer numbers of men and women who served. After the desegregation of armed forces with Executive Order 9981 in 1948, every Marine had the opportunity to be treated equally. At the beginning of the war in 1950, it was estimated that approximately 20,000 Latinos were enlisted in the military, with most serving in the Army and Marine Corps. By 1953, at the war's conclusion, nearly 148,000 had served. The war also saw an increased recruitment of Hispanic women to serve in the Corps. One of these individuals was Rose Franco, who became the first Hispanic female Marine to become a Chief Warrant Officer. Our Incheon interactive display tells the story of Marines that participated in the amphibious landing at Incheon in 1950. The display recreates one of the most iconic photographs taken during the conflict, with First Lieutenant Baldomero Lopez leading men of the 1st Battalion 5th Marines, 1st Marine Division, up the dangerous seawall on September 15, 1950. After climbing over the seawall, he engaged enemy forces immediately and sacrificed himself on a grenade to save the men around him. For his action, he received the Medal of Honor. Hispanic Marines continued to serve in a greater capacity during the Vietnam War, with one estimate putting some 170,000 Hispanics serving during the conflict. They served within the Northern I Corps region of South Vietnam in a corps that represented gender and racial diversity. 19 Hispanic Marines received the Navy Cross, and 6 received the Medal of Honor. Although women did not serve in active combat duty, many were assigned to administrative duties during the time, including Hispanic women. Interestingly enough, Master Sergeant Juan J. Valdez, the non-commissioned officer in charge of the Marine Security Guard, or MSG detachment, at the U.S. Embassy in Saigon, was the last U.S. serviceman to leave Vietnam, shutting the gates and boarding the last helicopter out of there. According to his article in Leatherneck magazine, published right after the fall of Saigon in 1975, Valdez commented on the difficult situation he faced at the time. Quote, "The primary mission of the MSG is the protection of classified material. Our secondary mission is the protection of American lives. I believe we did it all." Their service and sacrifice continues into the modern era today, with continued deployments to Iraq and Afghanistan during the global war on terror and beyond. In all, there are 13 Hispanic Marine recipients of the Medal of Honor throughout the Corps' history, the highest honor bestowed by the United States military for heroism and acts of valor. Today, Hispanics account for the largest of the minority groups in the United States Marine Corps. According to the 2018 Department of Defense official profile of the military community, the Marine Corps has the highest percentage of Hispanic or Latino active duty members today, comprising 21.6% of its total force. That number is significantly higher than the total Department of Defense, which sits at approximately 14.9% and up from a similar census done in 2011, which showed Hispanic Marines sitting at 18%. For more information about Hispanic Marines, visit us at the National Museum of the Marine Corps or online at www.usmcmuseum.com.